My name is Kieren Tall. I've just been a guest on the With the Chiefs podcast. I'd like to let you know that today's podcast is sponsored for the first time in history by relearning. Relearning is a more efficient, a more artistic, and a more eloquent way to display your race medals that you've worked so hard for. So here we've got a modularized system where you can insert your medal, display your medal, and even store your medal on the wall. So if you're looking for a cost-effective and artistic way to display your medals, you know where to go, and that would be relearning.
Yeah, you can get them now. They're $10 each at relearning.com.
Great piece of material, great piece of technology. Really cool. I love it.
Hope you enjoy the episode. Another episode of With the Chiefs.
Wait. Man, I need more rest.
I hope I've got your last name right there.
It's a very good pronunciation.
You should know better than that now, Dom.
I know.
Alright, welcome back to another episode of With the Chiefs. Today, we're lucky to be joined by the talented Sydney-based athlete Kieren Tall. Kieren has personal bests of 28.47 in the 10K and 13.50 in the 5K. We last had Kieren on the show back in 2022, but since then he's faced a serious injury that put his running career at risk. Despite this, he's made an inspiring comeback, and we're excited to catch up with him today and hear about his journey back to form. So, Kieren, welcome to the show again.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's good to be back. It's great fun doing that episode in 2022. Had some really good discussions, so keen to see what we get up to today.
Yeah, 100%. Welcome back to you, Dom, as well.
Thanks. Looking forward to the show again.
It's been a long time since he's been on last episode.
I was about to say not 2022. We just start with a bit of a training update, so I'm going to throw to you again.
Yeah.
What's been happening, Dom?
Yeah, I'll try and keep it quick. Last week, the highlights, 120 Ks. The sessions on the Tuesday, ran in the morning, then did the session in the Arvo was at Turbo. We did just a minor fartlek. I think kind of lacking speed at the moment. Like, I just feel like I've done so much marathon stuff in the past, and I just need to get more turnover. So trying to just throw in a few more speed sessions and just try and start working on that at the moment. So then Thursday,
how'd you go in the session?
It was okay. Like, I think for the mono I did 5.65.
What's like your benchmark? It was like 6K or something?
Yeah, or the best I've ever done was like 6.1, which was that was like when I ran my 10K PB.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm not that fit at the moment.
When did you do that? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, around the track.
Yeah. Cool. Sorry, I wasn't going to discount. Just curious.
Yeah. Then on the Wednesday, we did the other session we're doing, kind of like back-to-back sessions at the moment. And that was 3 by 10 minutes. And that one felt really good. So I think the paces started off probably a bit quick. I was like probably 8 minutes into the rep and looked down at my watch and it was like 3:20.
Is this threshold?
Yeah, threshold kind of stuff.
LT2?
LT2, yeah. Probably maybe a bit over, but I looked down, my watch was like 3:20. I'm like, oh shit, that's probably a bit quick for where I'm at the moment. So I kind of jogged in the last 2 minutes and finished like 3:25 average for that one. Yeah. And the other two managed to keep them all right. So it was 3:27 and 3:28 for the other two 10 minutes. I think it was like 3-minute jog recovery on it.
So you're still finishing, feeling good at the end?
Yeah, I felt like that one I kind of nailed it and was good. They were kind of like the only sessions for the week. Then on the Friday I did a little tempo on the treadmill, just like a 5K kind of effort. I just didn't have much time, so I was just like, oh, I got to do something. And yeah, managed to like hang on to 16-minute pace, which was good.
Very nice.
Yeah, on the treadmill, you'd never know, but
16 minutes
still counts, I guess.
Flat pace?
Yeah, just plugging it in like...
Okay.
What is it, like 3:11s or whatever? So
maybe you're just good on the treadmill.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the treadmill's always a bit kinder, but...
What's your view on the treadmill, Kieren?
It's good. I think it's good in its place. Like I wouldn't use it all the time, but there's nothing wrong with using it. I don't think it's that much slower than running on the flat, depending on where you're running.
Yeah.
Because I know some people say if you're running on treadmill, you should have a 1% incline. Or I don't agree with that. There's been a few people talk about it. I know Seth O'Donnell mentioned it recently. He was telling us that a lot of the new studies are actually showing it's pretty similar and doesn't give you as much bounce as you might think.
Okay.
So might have been misled there, but you know, I know he does say that a bit.
Yeah. I think like in terms of like running form and stuff, if you're running like up a little hill, it's probably different to running on the flat anyway.
It is, yes. Yeah. It is treadmill. Look, treadmill's good. It's got its place. I definitely wouldn't use it like for every session every week, but even for one session a week, I think it's good. A lot of the good guys use it.
Yeah. You on the treadmill much or?
Yeah.
What session do you like doing on?
Oh, I've kind of tempos and threshold kind of thing. I don't like doing the faster stuff on treadmill. I prefer doing that outside. But if I'm doing a tempo or especially threshold reps, because you can just set the pace and lock in and not worry about it.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
I think Sam said similar thing because we asked him about treadmill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that you locked in. Like it was good on the 5K. Just knowing, okay, like just got to hang on to this. Like don't have to go any faster. Don't have to go any slower. Just keep going.
It's you versus you.
Yeah, that's it. Then finishing off the week, the Saturday got on the trails and me and a mate did
Ollie.
Ollie went down to the national park.
Trying to drag me out.
We almost got Smitty out there.
Yeah.
But that was good fun. Just kind of, I don't know, spent a couple of hours out there. And that was pretty much it. Sunday did another little run as well. But it was a pretty solid week. Couple of good workouts in there.
What's the volume?
120. So
nice.
I think that's kind of 4 weeks in a row where I've been over 110k. So starting to come together. It's good.
Body's feeling good.
Yeah, feeling alright. Felt pretty tired towards the end of the week, but kept getting it done.
Nice.
Yeah. What about you, Smitty, Kieren?
Me? Oh,
Do you want me to go? Or do you want to go?
You can go. Yeah.
Okay. Training wise, I've been sitting on roughly 120 to 125k a week for the last few months. I'm probably ready to move up from that. I do a couple of other things as well. So I'm riding a couple of times a week, just around my local kind of roads and streets, like up the Duffy's Forest, off to Westhead Road.
Yeah.
With some of my old triathlon training partners. Okay. And I'll do a gym session or two a week as well.
Yep.
In terms of sessions, I'll just give you the last week.
Last week. What do you?
Let's pull them up.
Yeah.
So Tuesday, I usually jump on the track at ES Marks and battle all the crowds. There's quite a few people on the track at the moment.
Yeah. Is that when the run crew come?
Run crew are there. My group is there, which is, we call ourselves BBTC or Swim Club. There's a lot of different names, but it's basically a collection of some of the very talented runners in Sydney.
Yeah.
So our session
shows up.
Myself, Josh Phillips, Sam Clifford, Logan Campbell, two guys called Joel, 2 guys called Jasper, and many, many more.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit of a shorter session. It was 1K and then 10 by 400 and 1K.
Okay.
So that first 1K was more like a bit of a warm up, just in about 3 minutes. And then our 400s were in 63 to 66, 67 or 45 seconds. Then our final K was in about 2:48, and that was pretty much run in lane 2, so it was probably worth it like a 2:45.
Yeah.
Saturday's session was 3 by 3K threshold on the treadmill, running about 305s average, 310s. So pretty chill. I like to keep my heart rate pretty low for some of the threshold sessions.
Yep.
I'm aiming to actually mimic that session in a week's time again, but at more like 10K race pace. Okay. So it's a good little kind of introduction to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I usually keep my heart rate in the 160s for that when I'm running that speed.
Okay. What's your max heart rate?
I've hit over 200 quite a few times in races.
Okay. Yeah.
So if I'm doing VO2 work, I'd expect it to be in the 180s at least.
Okay.
And threshold's kind of in the 170s.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been a good week. Had a good long run. I do love the Westhead Road long runs. I'm sure there's been a few of them on Strava. Is this the one that's the uphill? It starts off with the uphill? Yeah, you talked about that. Starts off with a 2-3K climb.
Yeah.
And then you go pretty much up and down hills for the entire run.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
It's pretty hard. It tests you, that's for sure. It really tests you.
Yeah. I think last time you were on, you were talking about fanging the long runs, and you always like a long run. Is that still the case? Or
it still is. My fitness may not match those words as much as it used to just yet. It's starting to.
Yeah.
We did do one a couple of weeks ago at about 4:05 average for 27k.
Yeah, right.
That was with Josh and Jasper and Rowan.
Oh, yeah.
Rowan's a younger guy that's joined our group recently, and he originally told us he was doing 90 minutes, and we all looked at him and said, well, we're either going to have to come pick you up or you could just do 2 hours. And he goes, you know what, I'm just going to do 2 hours. And he, absolute champion, he actually got through it.
Yeah, hectic.
You know, I think Josh and Rowan decided to peg it back a bit. Jasper and I wanted to push it, but they still ran 27k at 4:15s. That's very impressive for someone that's 17 years old.
Yeah.
Far out. That's 17. That's crazy. Yeah.
Very good.
What's he sort of targeting? Like 5k?
10, probably more towards 10.
Okay.
I'm looking at winter road races, I guess, is my goal.
Yeah.
So I know that I'm still building fitness and still coming back from where I was injured. So
yeah.
I'm looking at trying to build some more fitness and build into the winter.
Yeah.
I'll do Bluff to Boat Ramp in about a month's time, and then look at Sydney 10. And if I can get back into the 29s, maybe I'll travel a bit and have a bit of fun with that.
Yeah. Yeah, sounds good. So, and what are you doing midweek? Like just jogging?
Jogging, gym, bit of cross training.
Yeah.
I was on 3 sessions a week, but I've just moved back to 2.
Okay.
So I find that 2 is better in terms of balance with uni and work and everything else.
Yeah.
I'm able to get better quality out and more consistency.
Yeah.
So I'll have a midweek long run on Thursday and gym on Wednesday.
How do you sort of do those midweek? Like what pace are you sort of looking at pace, or are you just running easy? Or
I usually train to heart rate, to be honest, because I run in a lot of different places, whether I'm around uni or home, and a lot of it is on trail, which is a bit slower.
Yeah.
So I usually run anything between 4-minute Ks and 4:40s. It's quite variable, to be honest. In my long runs that are over 70 minutes, I don't like to run slower than 4:30s, and ideally average more like 4:15s.
Yeah.
I just feel like if it's a longer run, I'd prefer to keep the heart rate up a bit more.
Yeah.
So I find now that I'm starting to get fitter, if I run 4:30s to 5-minute Ks, my heart rate's actually too low for even zone 1 or zone 2.
Yeah, really, wow.
I just feel like could get a bit more benefit. There's definitely some sense in not running too fast, but that's kind of based on heart rate. So I just try and sit my heart rate kind of in the 130s, 140s.
Yep.
And if that turns out to be 4-minute Ks, so be it. If it turns out to be 4:40, so be it.
Yeah, okay. You using chest strap?
Yeah, so often I have a chest strap. Sometimes I just use the watch.
Okay.
All of my data comes from a chest strap, and if I'm going to actually measure and then report heart rate.
Yeah, okay. How do you find accuracy for wrist heart rate for your watch?
My current watch is pretty good. Some of my older watches weren't. They were pretty ludicrous. It's interesting. I actually find the only thing that I don't get well is a track workout.
What is it? Is that the...
I think it's the
965?
Yeah, I think it's the 965.
The same watch.
Yeah.
Good.
I find the heart rate data on the easy runs pretty accurate. I've measured both strap and wrist, and it's pretty similar.
Yeah.
Thresholds is still pretty similar. Once you go up above 180, it can get a bit variable. That's just my personal experience anyway.
Yeah, I've had instances where, like easy run's good. Same with you, threshold can be good. But sometimes if you're really sending it, it doesn't even register.
Yeah.
Like in the higher, like you'll be VO2 max sort of thing.
Yeah, 100%.
And it'll be like still like 160. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
That's not right. But sometimes it's good.
I've noticed that. I've had some races where my average heart rate is 140.
Yeah, okay.
And I threw up after, so that doesn't work. That doesn't add up.
Yeah. What are you tracking? Did you ever use the chest strap?
I used it a couple times, but it's just like, it's hard when you got like another thing to remember. It's like,
that's true.
Most of the time, like, I'd want to use it, but I just forget to wear it or whatever. But,
okay.
Yeah, so I use like wrist sometimes, which is like, it's accurate enough. Like, you know, roughly whether you're, 10 or 20 beats out, it doesn't matter too much really.
I'd say
like on your easy runs at least. Yeah.
I'd say the variability between like a newer watch and a chest strap would be less than 5%, from what I've heard anyway. So if you're sitting in the 140s on your wrist, you're not going to be much more than 130s or 150 flat either way.
Yeah. And like doesn't matter too much.
Yeah.
Between
it's a guide. Like I don't run to a specific number. Like I don't go do a run and go, I'm just going to run at 140 exactly.
Yeah.
Because good luck with that. You're going to be running with your watch in front of your face the whole time.
Yeah.
It won't be fun.
It's more a guide. So if I might check half an hour and go, oh, that's a bit high or a bit low, or
Yeah.
maybe I want to run faster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, I guess it would make sense though if you wanted to do more like threshold sort of stuff.
Yeah,
Where you need it to be a little bit more accurate to make sure you kind of...
definitely.
Because it's a bit kind of tighter than between like LT1, LT2 and going above there. Yeah.
I think once you do enough of it, you can look a little bit less.
Yeah.
Because you just know where you should be sitting, and you know the pace and you know what it feels like.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you're doing it for the first time, the first time I did true threshold to heart rate, I was looking at my watch way too much.
Yeah.
And it would go one beat out and go, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Now I'm a bit more just relaxed about it.
Yeah.
As long as it's reasonable.
Mm. Yeah, that's it.
fair. So, was it like 120 Ks or 130 K? How much for the week?
120. I usually sit about 120. I've sat on 122 for the last month, really.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about training a little bit later, but yeah.
Sounds good.
Sounds like so you're happy with that training week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a nice, solid, consistent week.
Yeah. Cool. I'll try and go through my training week quickly. Just did 45 minutes on the Monday. The Delta session this week was, we did like 10 minute, 5 minute, 8 minute, 4 minute with 2 minute jog in between. The idea was sort of to keep the paces like half marathon for the longer reps and then move a little bit quicker for the shorter reps. But I think normally just the way I do the Delta session is to keep it pretty solid. I just wanted to keep it in threshold, and then like when I got towards that 4 minute rep, just like really give it a crack, but just at least make sure I wasn't going backwards. Yeah, it felt good overall for that session. Oh, your singlet.
Oops.
That's right.
Technical difficulties.
Which we're going to talk about that a little bit later.
Sorry, I'll get up and do that.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's alright. The sticky tape saved the day.
Yeah, and we're back.
There's nothing stronger than a bit of duct tape and then slapping the roof of the car and saying that'll hold. That's a bit of, listeners, that is a bit of dad law for you there. It's the kind of stuff that you'll hear at a local Bunnings.
Then I did a midweek long run, about 19 Ks, about 450 pace, just before work. Then Thursday was 60 minutes at about 440 pace. Friday was easy. I ran easy again because the session was going to be on Saturday this week. So normally I do like a Friday session, something threshold. I was getting ready for a longer workout, like meant to be like 16 Ks at sort of marathon pace. That didn't really go to plan, unfortunately. I did the warm up, and then there was actually a really good group going this week. It was like some of the guys that are training for Ballarat. You had like Matt Ho, Jono, Justin, and Tim Broxip. So it was a good group. Like, it's good to have a good group out there, which is why
They're
it's
all like 230 or something.
They're all going for probably Matt and Jono maybe a little bit quicker.
Yeah, 225.
Yeah. So
or quicker even. Yeah.
those ones are good because you've got like the group going out, which is why it was a little bit more disappointing that I sort of had to pull the pin about 6K in. Had to classic like bathroom stop sort of thing.
No.
Yeah.
Where's the nappy when you need
But
it?
yeah, come on, dog. There's context.
Yeah.
Well, I won't tell it right now.
It's a bit of no context track and field.
But like, it was also a combination of I was feeling a little bit fatigued going into that, and like also hamstring was feeling tight. So you have like all those things combining, and then you mentally just like, once need to go to the bathroom, I just pulled the pin. It was like, this is not going to work. So it was like an out into Olympic Park, so I had to like go back.
Oh shit!
So to like walk,
Literally.
jog back. It was pretty miserable, but that's all good. Then I went for 2 hours in the Shire. Like, just went for took it a little bit easier. Was with my partner for quite a bit of it. It was good to do a bit of a reset, but I felt like my energy has been a little bit. I was talking to you, Dom. Like, I just hadn't been. I don't think I've been eating enough. Like, I do those things where automatically, like, just work gets busy, or you don't like keep track of how much you're eating. And then I reckon I was just in deficit that weekend, and then like you just obviously that impacts training. So you just felt like a bit all over the place. But this morning I started eating a lot more. Like, smashed 2 smoothies, had a burger, like trying to almost make up for it. And I've actually felt better today, which is good. So what do you reckon about, like, do you have those patches where you get that fatigue? Do you think,
I do.
What sort of plays into it for you, do you think?
I think it was some of it is training choices in terms of I'm upping my training, and at the moment because I'm still rebuilding fitness, I'm getting used to a higher training load and higher intensity. Some of it is diet too, definitely, because I've never been one to skip meal or skip food, but as you said, when you get busy, sometimes you actually have to intentionally eat and eat enough, and it's actually hard to do when you're running a lot.
Yeah.
So I've definitely had days where I go, I haven't eaten enough, and I don't notice it until I try and go for a run.
Yeah.
Because you can kind of do normal things that aren't running or exercise and be underfueled, but when you go to try and do an hour run, you notice it. Yeah.
I think like Friday, even like when you get busy, if you're not eating enough, like say Friday, Saturday is really underfueled.
Oh.
Yeah, that's probably a big factor of why, like, don't run well on the Saturday morning as well, or you just, I don't know.
That seems very relevant to me, because the last month I've literally had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday ran pretty well, and I hit kind of either Friday or Saturday, and I feel pretty average. And I've been eating a fair bit, but I think I probably need to eat a bit more in some, especially after some of my runs and for meals.
Yeah.
It's as you said, it's difficult to balance when you're busy.
Yeah.
If you're a full-time runner sitting at home, it's probably not as much of a problem.
Yeah.
But even seeing how much some of my mates eat, I sometimes realise, well, maybe I do need to actually eat more, not less.
Yeah.
Especially with Sam. Sam, some of his meals are huge.
Yeah. He's a fan of a burger.
He loves his burgers, and I'll order like one main, and he'll go, I'm having 3. And I go, maybe I need to step up my game here.
Yeah.
So we go to this place after some of our runs while he was staying at my place called Frankie's Food Factory.
Oh, yeah.
And he gets a burger and this garlic bread. And the garlic bread is basically, looks like it's huge. It's like a burger in itself, just a garlic bread. So started getting on those. Highly recommend.
Yeah.
Falafel wrap's pretty good too.
Yeah. What's like your go-to carbs, like if you're fueling up for a race the next day?
I love Italian.
Yeah. Right.
Pasta. Probably pasta.
What pasta?
Just
Anything?
spaghetti.
Yeah.
Napolitano, just plain pasta really. Just keep it simple.
Yep.
Got to have a bit of protein too, otherwise I end up hungry the whole night.
Yeah, true.
So a bit of both. I do like Thai and Mexican as well. I know it's a dangerous game, but I love Guzman.
Yeah.
Like the local Guzman knows me by name. Like I usually do my order online after the gym or after uni on the way home, and when I walk in, they just know who I am. So the guy just hands me the bag before I even can.
What's the go-to order?
Burrito and chips.
Nice. That's a good meal though.
Yeah.
Yeah, bread's great.
Like the chips, maybe not necessary, but I think they are.
Yeah.
There's something in those chips too. They're very good.
Yeah.
I think it's like a paprika seasoning or crack or something. I don't know. There's something addictive in that seasoning that makes people want the chips, but good on them.
Yeah. What are you normally eating like straight after a session?
Usually a protein shake and then dinner.
Okay.
Or if it's morning, something with eggs.
Yeah.
Do you
just toast and eggs?
Are you one of the guys that like brings your protein shake to the track?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, right.
Because it needs to be the ideal kind of protein absorption time is within 20 minutes.
Yeah.
If you're not having anything within 20 minutes, you're probably going to be at some kind of deficit.
Yeah.
I think it also gives me a bit of gap between that and meal times too.
True, yeah, it keeps you going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because often it's a bit of a drive home from sessions.
Yeah. I feel like that makes a big difference. Like if I don't eat something straight after a workout, I feel really bad the next day.
Yeah, it does. that's a good point, actually. Sometimes you can get away with all sorts of either poor training habits or poor eating habits for even a couple of days, sometimes even a couple of weeks or months, but it will catch up with you.
Oh, yeah.
And even though I have gone to uni and done exercise science, I've also made all of the mistakes too.
Yeah.
And I've done all the stupid things, and I know what happens, so I know the result.
Yeah.
Which is kind of good in a way because it's learned by trial and error. But
Yeah.
I've definitely done some silly things, especially around sleep when I was younger.
Yeah.
Which I think every young person does.
Mm.
You know, you have 6 hours sleep because of uni, or 4 hours, or one of my mates that's suddenly doing full-time law at the moment of no sleep. Otto, I'm looking at you.
Next door.
Yeah, he's literally next door as we speak. Probably, actually no, he's at uni now.
At
but
uni.
yes, the no sleep catches up with you.
Yeah.
You get away with it for a while, but it hits you when you least expect it.
Mm.
I've definitely come home from sessions and thought, oh, I've had a really good session. I feel great. And then I've gone down for sleep, and 3 hours later, it feels like I'm on another planet.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, I think in terms of my week, at least, I need to... What about, actually, that's the thing, because I find my appetite is not great sometimes.
Like after sessions?
Yeah, after sessions, but also, recently with more mileage for some reason, I would expect to be really hungry, but sometimes I'm not. Maybe it's with intensity as well.
Yeah.
Do you find similar, do you have decent appetite, or is it...
I do at certain times. There's some interesting research on this, actually. It goes for sleep as well. If you're running either too much or you're not recovering enough in terms of what you're eating and your recovery around running and intensity regulation, your ability to absorb and take in food and your ability to sleep actually goes down, not up.
Interesting.
So because your body... Because the thing is, you're still using energy when you sleep, and you're still using energy to absorb that food. Especially if food, it's quite a bit of energy you need to actually take in the more energy from the food.
Yeah.
So if you're incredibly depleted, you're going to struggle to eat because your body doesn't have the necessary resources to actually break it down. And same as sleep. So there's been points where I've been really, really tired, especially in my return to running after surgery. And my sleep's actually become worse because I'm so tired. It made no sense at the time until I read the research. So I think if you're fueling adequately and finding foods that are easy to get down, it helps. So I try and have a protein shake because I find it easy to drink than eat after a session.
Yeah.
There's no chance I feel like eating a massive burger straight after a VO2 max session.
Yeah, yeah.
But usually an hour or two after I can get something down.
Yeah. This morning I had, because I was like, okay, I need to get heaps of calories in. I had a smoothie with an up and go, oats, Nutella, and peanut butter, because I knew that was 550 calories. I had 2 of those.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
that's a good option.
And it's easy. You're otherwise what, for I don't know exactly, but 1,200 calories, you'd have to eat a lot.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So I think I'll focus on getting that in. I've been better with having up and goes at least, but as we were saying, if you get busy, it's easy for it to slip away.
It's all routine and habits.
Yeah,
I know I sound like one of those influencers saying that, but
it's true though.
It is there's certain things now I do that I just unconsciously do. I don't have to think about. When I'm packing my bag before my session, the same things go in there every single day of the year, so I never forget them.
Yeah,
and it's the same thing with food now. In terms of I always have my protein shake, I always eat after my session. I usually eat the exact same thing before every single run, which is boring, I know, but it works.
Wait, what are you eating before?
So if I'm getting up in the morning, I'll either have toast and a muesli bar and a coffee, or I'll have some muesli and a coffee, and obviously some electrolytes.
Yep.
Just simple.
Yep.
Works.
Yeah.
I do like a bit of maple syrup in the coffee, I must admit.
Maple syrup in the coffee? I've never tried that.
I was having sugar, but because maple syrup, if you're buying organic, it's more of a natural sugar. It's not as bad for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it changes the taste dynamic more than sugar does. Because if you put sugar in, it's like a little bit of a kick to it. Whereas if you add the maple syrup, and you're not someone that loves the traditional kind of bitter taste of coffee, it can change the whole dynamic of the drink.
Yeah, right. What about honey?
I do like honey as well, yeah.
That's another one. Mum always says, just
in
have
the
honey
coffee.
instead of... Yeah, have honey instead of sugar.
Yeah. Yeah, we do.
More natural, it's similar.
Yeah, honey's probably a bit better for you than maple syrup, I must admit.
I love maple syrup.
I do too.
I've never tried it on coffee. I'm going to have to try it.
It's worth it.
What coffee you using? What coffee you have at home?
We got a coffee machine.
Yeah,
So
nice.
one of the Nespresso pod machines.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're
Some
good.
of my friends have got the proper grinders,
Grinder.
but I'm not as skilled with coffee yet,
Yeah.
so I'm just happy with my pod machine that I can quickly stick in and get done.
Yeah, it's a bit loud for like
Yeah.
5:30 in the morning too. Like the full.
Yeah. Even the pod machine's pretty loud when you do the milk.
Yeah.
My family are all very early risers, so
Okay.
if I'm doing my coffee at 5:30, they're already been and gone.
They're already okay. So
Like
that's
they're all,
fine.
everyone in my family gets up at like 4 or 5 a.m.
Yeah.
So if I ever sleep until 7, they're all looking at me like, "Where have you been? You've lost half the day." I've probably got one of the two of my pets scratching at the door trying to get in.
It's 7
Someone's
o'clock.
like gone for a 2-hour ride and vacuumed the house and saved the world.
Remember when you were staying here, Dom? I used like the coffee machine would go on early.
Yeah,
It would
yeah.
like wake everyone up.
It's the alarm
Winning,
clock.
yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty loud.
It's like having a rooster.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So still did 110 Ks for the week,
Okay.
and now I feel like I'm just gonna place a big emphasis on fueling this week to get back on track. But
How did you feel about like last week then? Was it like good week or?
it was going to be a good week, and then like once I didn't hit the session, I kind of was like, oh, what's going on? Because
Yeah, true.
like my heart rate was pretty, like, because I was using chest strap, it was pretty low. Not low, but like within the range. I shouldn't have been feeling like I was working as hard as I was, but it's probably a fueling.
That's actually a key sign that you're tired.
Yeah.
You can't get your heart rate up and you're stuck in one of those lower gears and you're finding, I can't run any faster, but my heart rate's low. That's a sign that you're either underfueled or not recovering properly.
Yeah.
Like there's a few studies on that. It's very interesting.
Yeah, and that's interesting because I feel like every block I get into those ruts where like the energy goes down and then I'm like frantically trying to fix it, which this is one of the periods. But yeah, it's normally fueling or just increased volume
Yeah.
and body adjusting.
I guess the funny thing with running is you get used to eating a certain amount and then your running goes up and you actually have to consciously increase your eating to match that. Otherwise
Yeah,
you're
true.
under.
Yeah.
And it's a lot more than you think. And sometimes you can eat a lot, but you eat the wrong things as well. I feel like to run, like whether you're a professional runner or you're just very serious about your running, you almost need a degree in running or in exercise. Like I've gone to uni and done exercise science. You almost need a lot of that knowledge just to train properly.
Yeah.
It's a real kind of art form and real science to it, just to get things right, even to run, even like a sub 3-hour marathon or something. There's a lot that goes into it that people don't realise.
Yeah, massively. I think but like it's so nice when everything's humming along like really well, but then it's just
Bang.
just something like you never get through half the thing in the block is like trying to figure out
All the other
well, when
stuff.
something goes wrong, you have to then fix it or like especially with but it is interesting
As you get older and you get more busy, more things go wrong.
Yeah.
When when you're 20, 21, you're pretty bulletproof and you can just do whatever you like and get through it. But even at my age, I'm just 26 now, and there's definitely some more problems to get thrown into the mix. Even just something like being at uni all day and having to fit 2 runs in as well.
Yeah.
And then trying to make sure I eat enough and get enough sleep and then can be ready for the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to really be ticking all the boxes.
Yeah, and you can very easily run out of time, and you don't want sleep or food to be the thing that gets sacrificed.
Yeah.
Which is often for most people it is.
Yeah. Even at Port Macquarie, a few like around New Year's, because my partner made a conscious is pretty good with nutrition, and she's kind of like, well, how much are you eating sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I was like trying to track how much. It's a lot of food, which I don't sort of realize as well. So it's like, anyway, I think I'll go back to doing that. I feel like I did that well a sort of month or so ago, but I was only really training like 90 Ks. Now it's gone up, so hence. But anyway,
Have you ever tracked your calories at all?
Yeah, I have before.
Yeah.
I don't do it regularly, but I have worn a blood glucose monitor before, actually, as an experiment.
Yeah, cool.
all right.
Just to see what food kind of spikes my BGL and how it affects training. And you actually have a look at your BGL after training, so you get some interesting data. I haven't used it for a while, though.
Yeah.
It is interesting to see on a big training week just how much you need. It's astronomical.
Yeah.
You could literally eat the crappiest food and eat burgers and pizzas and chips, and you could still eat what would make a normal person fat, and you would struggle to even meet your demands.
Yeah.
Especially once you get up to that 150 to 200k a week range, you are just constantly eating.
Yeah, far out. And
which is actually kind of cool because it means you can have dessert as much as you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good if you love eating. Like it's great.
Good.
But I guess once you do it like once, you kind of know, okay, that's like what I have to do.
Yeah.
But it's good every now and then you have to remind yourself again, oh shit, like this is how I'm going and how I should be tracking.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Sorry, I always waffle on about mine, but that was good to talk about your perspective on that as well. All right, so obviously we had you on in 2022. I think at that time you had you were having like hip issues?
Yeah, I had some hip and lower back issues. So I think it's my left sacroiliac joint it was frozen or something wrong with it. I can't remember now. I've had so many injuries since, but I think there's some hip and some back issues. They were a bit more short term than what I had after. Yeah, I actually managed to work through that fairly quickly and started to build back some decent fitness. I had about 1 or 2 sessions where I started to get fit, and then my running career ended. Yeah, for about 2 years.
Tell us what happened. So it was compartment syndrome.
So I had popliteal artery entrapment syndrome and chronic exertional compartment syndrome. Do you want me to explain them for the listeners?
If you can, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the simplest way of explaining popliteal artery entrapment is your popliteal artery supplies most, if not all, of the blood below the knee. That was being physically compressed by a muscle called plantaris and part of gastrocnemius. And those two were basically choking the muscle. And what's called the neurovascular bundle, which is nerve, artery and vein that feeds the lower leg. So when I would run, by the time they measured it, I would have 0 blood flow below the knee. None. Wow. So what they'd do is they put you on an ultrasound and get you to do a calf raise, and they have a look how much blood is able to get through. Mine was 0.
Oh, goodness me.
So I had no blood flow.
So before, like, what was happening in the lead up to like you figuring out what the hell's going on?
So I was starting to go on some runs and I'd get some really severe pain in my tibia, what I thought was my tibia and fibula. It felt like I had a broken leg. It was that bad. I also noticed my foot would start to go numb on runs increasingly quickly. And it got to the point where I felt like about 3 minutes into a run, I had a broken leg and I was on the ground, unable to walk. Jeez. And my foot would be white and purple.
Oh, goodness me.
And you'd touch my foot and I wouldn't feel it.
So this obviously was just acute, like it just happened, or it wasn't gradual, like you would have had those symptoms.
I think the onset may have been more gradual than I realised, but it wasn't noticeable until the symptoms became acute in terms of the onset.
Okay.
And in terms of why it's a genetic condition. So they don't really know why it suddenly just pops up. They're still working that out because it's so rare. Yeah. But there's unfortunately nothing I could have done to avoid it. I wish there was. I actually prefer being able to take accountability and say, oh, I messed that up, I'm going to fix it. But this was just winning the lottery in reverse, if you like. The compartment syndrome is effectively when your muscles are surrounded by like an outer wall or outer layer, which is the compartment, and the pressure build-up is too high in those compartments because there's not enough space for your muscles to actually expand when they're under labour or working. Okay. So what they do for that one is they actually cut little slits or hole in the muscle wall so that your muscles can expand to the size they need to without being...
So you get blood...
Yeah, and actually expand when exercising.
Wow, okay.
So, yes. Do you want me to say what happened in the surgery or leave that for another question?
No. Just take us through, I guess.
Sure.
So, I guess the only way to fix it was surgery though.
Yes. Yeah. So the diagnosis took quite a few months because it is so rare. Most doctors and physios have never heard of this. Yeah. To be honest, I was in hospital a couple of times a week for a couple of months. So it was quite disruptive to my daily life. I got to the point where we got told by about 6 different doctors I'd never run again at all. Not even like for fun.
Yeah, shit.
And after many appointments, we first thought it was compartment syndrome only, and the one thing that my dad said to me is, at least it's not popliteal artery entrapment, because that would be game over.
Yeah, right.
And I looked this condition up out of interest at the time, and I'd never found anyone that's come back from it to elite level in running in the world.
Shit.
So I went, I'm glad I don't have this. And then sure enough, a week later,
Yeah, fuck.
I got the diagnosis for the other one and got the results back, and they went, yeah, you're in trouble. So they booked the surgery for about, because that was the only way they could do it is surgery. So we tried Botox first, just to try and actually, what Botox does for the muscle is it kills off some of the muscle tissue in your calf muscle so that it creates a little bit more space around the artery for it to breathe. That didn't work. Unfortunately, we really hoped it did because we knew the surgery was high risk, or surgeries, I should say. So they booked me in as soon as they could, which was about 4 months in after the diagnosis. Unfortunately, in January, it got worse to the point where I actually couldn't even stand up or sit in a chair at all.
Goodness me.
So I was like where I'm sitting now, I couldn't sit here for more than about 30 seconds before I'd lose full feeling in my feet and be in pain, in like 10 out of 10 pain.
Fine.
So
it was
it's just
bedridden.
like, just extended way beyond trying to go for a run. It was like,
Oh yeah,
literally-
this was life altering for
Wow.
about 3 to 6 months.
So what did you have to do to like to stop it? Like from
Well, I was bedridden, so I was
You
lying
literally-
down. I couldn't walk anywhere. Like
oh my god.
I was struggling to even get to the bathroom. By the time I'd go to the bathroom and come out, my feet would be white and purple.
Fine.
And I was pretty much stuck at home. Couldn't really go anywhere or do anything. I did swim for a while, but I then had to stop swimming, and I did walk for a while and ride, but I had to stop that as well and just lie on the couch all day.
Jeez.
So they came back with more scans and basically said, if we don't do this now, you could lose your legs. If we don't, obviously within reason, if they delayed it another month or two, there would be a lot more damage, because every time the muscle would squeeze the nerve and the artery in the vein, it was doing a bit of damage.
Yeah. Right.
So if that was left to go on for another year or two, I might have had amputation for both legs.
Fuck.
So
Jeez.
I'm lucky that they fitted me in a bit earlier. So this is February 2023. They did one leg at a time, and it was about 5 hours operation per leg.
Jeez.
And what they did is they took out plantaris, the whole thing. So the whole plantaris is a knee stabilizing muscle, so it's not a good one to lose,
They just took it out.
the whole thing.
Right.
And then they took out the medial head of gastrocnemius as well. Plus there was a little sheet of fascia connecting the two heads of gastroc they took out. Plus they did what's called a fasciotomy, which is opening up the muscle wall so that your muscles can expand properly. And they did, I think, 4 of them each leg. So it was pretty extensive. I was in hospital for most of the month of February that year, multiple times just for all the surgeries, and I was on crutches and in a wheelchair. So I started off wheelchair, went to crutches, and then as I was missing both my legs were missing some muscles, and there's a lot of nerve damage from the surgery, so I had to relearn how to walk. So it took me a month or two to relearn to walk without crutches, and then probably years to relearn to run.
Wow. That's insane. So when you were bedridden, like what was going through your head? Like,
look, I'll be honest, I was pretty down about it.
yeah, of course.
I knew that in terms of being able to go back to normal life, that was going to happen at some point. So I knew that there was a way out. But I think we were, as a both myself and my family were panicking a little bit, because it's not a well-researched or known condition, and we didn't know how the surgery was going to go, and we didn't know whether I was really going to fully find my way out of it in terms of even just going back to normal life. So we were pretty worried, and to be honest, I didn't have much time to think beyond a few hours of sleep, because I'd be going back and forth to doctors and hospitals and ringing up different surgeons and hospitals trying to actually get in for the surgery.
Yeah.
And actually, an interesting twist was 3 weeks before my first surgery, my surgeon cancelled, and we had to find another surgeon. And for a normal surgery, because we went through private, not too bad. For a surgery that there's only a handful of doctors in Australia that actually do, we almost went overseas to the US.
I was going to say, did you think about doing? Yeah,
We did, yeah. We almost did. We were about to book our flights when we found this surgeon that did it for me, and he did a great job. But in saying that he did a great job, he really did. Unfortunately, what he had to do in the surgery was more than we hoped.
Right.
So there's now part of my gastroc that they've left intact that doesn't work anymore.
Oh, shit.
So
That's pretty
the
important.
medial head of my gastroc. So gastroc, for the people that don't know as much anatomy, it's segmented. So the nerves that, activate the muscle are different for each segment. So the medial head is supplied by a different nerve to the lateral head, to the bottom of it, etc.
Okay.
And my medial head, where they took some of it out, they also cut the nerve, which I didn't realise. I was not told until 3 days ago, and after we got a final report, and that means that part of my leg doesn't work. Like the muscle can't contract or relax, and it doesn't help me. Force can still transmit through it, but I'm missing a bit more of my leg than I thought or hoped.
Right.
Yeah, right.
So in terms of force production, it's been quite a journey trying to actually learn to run again.
Yeah. And is that just in one leg? Like, is that
Both.
a bit of both legs?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So I'm missing a decent amount of both legs.
Yeah, far out.
It's been a journey, that's for sure. Just the actual process of fixing my biomechanics and actually just getting my body physically strong enough to run took a long time.
Yeah.
Because my tendons and ligaments were weak and I was missing the muscles. The amount of calf raises I've done in my bedroom is just it's scary. You'd think I'm just one of those like David Goggins gym junkies that just can't sleep, so they just do calf raises in the gym all night.
Yeah.
But I was just doing it so I could actually run properly and not run flat-footed.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So post surgery, what do you have to do to start? Like, obviously, you had to learn to walk, like you're saying, walk or yeah. So
Yeah.
what's the process like after?
Well, at first you get a bit of what's called foot drop. So you feel like there's no kind of sensation in your foot and there's no balance. So I had to start obviously in a wheelchair and then on crutches. As I was coming off crutches, I tried to, because my legs had massive scars on the front and back, just trying to move my legs a bit and get some balance back and learn to walk, because my legs really, with a nerve cut, a lot of nerve damage that's now healed and missing muscles, my body really didn't actually know how to walk at all. Like it was actually a how do I walk kind of thing. Like it wasn't just I'm a bit sore, I'm limping. It was a full actual mental process of move your knee, move your foot, this is where you land, this you've got to walk properly. And I had to do a couple of months of pure walking where I'd get my parents to video me.
Wow.
And give me feedback on my walk. Well, I could do it myself, but I'd say, can you video me walking? And then I'd sit at home at night and look at videos of myself walking and learn how to walk properly by my own biomechanical analysis, just for walking.
Jeez. Yeah, right.
So I haven't obviously publicised a lot of this before, but it was a little bit harder than I let on in terms of what I had to do just to get back. It wasn't just do some run technique. It was actually walking as well. So I started off with 5 metre to 10 metre walks and built up to probably a K after a couple of months.
Wow. Okay. And sorry, why was it that you had to learn to walk again? Like, what part of the surgery caused that? Or
So because some of the muscles were missing and my brain obviously still expected them to be there, I had to adjust to that.
Oh, okay.
And I also had to adjust to the nerve damage from the surgery. So when I had the surgery and after, the front of my leg had no sensation. So you could touch my shin and the front of my leg and I wouldn't feel it.
Wow.
So obviously in terms of your biomechanics, that's not going to be great for your sense of kind of where everything is and your balance. And also because they cut one of the nerves in the back of my calf, which I didn't know at the time, I struggled with balance and actual just being able to recruit and switch my muscles on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Plus just trauma does that as well in terms of not like mental trauma, physical trauma in the area, because they obviously opened up a massive scar and dug into the whole muscle and the whole leg.
Far out. What about because last time you were on, you mentioned you had a couple of other injuries, like there was a real bad knee one you had.
Yeah.
Did any of that kind of interface or play a part in this recovery as well, or?
Not in terms of the recovery. I think I've learnt things from them that I can put in place in terms of resilience and just the process of recovery, but they didn't really have any interaction with it just because this was a genetic one.
Yeah, right, okay.
But definitely good lessons learnt.
Yeah, absolutely, far out. And you said your dad had it.
So my dad had compartment syndrome when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Or I think he was about my age or early 20s when he had it for a different reason. So he broke his leg during soccer, and then compartment syndrome was caused by that. But the only reason he'd heard of either of them is because obviously he's a doctor himself.
Oh, right, okay.
And very well studied, and because he's had one of them. If it wasn't for Dad, I probably would have worked it out another year later.
Yeah, shit.
Because most of the sports doctors we spoke to hadn't heard of this either.
Yeah, right.
It's very rare.
Yeah, wow.
So hence why it's a bit of almost a joke to me now in a way, because every time I meet someone that's a runner that wants it explained, all my friends will probably be sitting there going, oh, he's talking about the same injury again. And I feel bad for them, but obviously I want to take the time and explain it if someone's being kind enough to be interested in what's going on. But it's very interesting. No one I met's heard of it. Even I have some friends that are doctors, and I've had to explain it to them, which is crazy if you think about it. But
yeah,
I've met, I think, 1 or 2 other people in Australia that have had it in the whole country. Because when I put it up on my Instagram, I had people from around the world reach out asking for advice on it. Because it's so rare that even some of their surgeons and doctors didn't understand the recovery.
Yeah, wow.
And they said, oh, how long's the recovery? I've just spoken to my surgeon, and I'm going, you spoken to your surgeon, you're asking me? I'm not a doctor, but I can tell you what worked for me.
Yeah, fine.
Which is, I think for anyone out there that might be listening that does have something like this, it is a long recovery, and I think it's good to be honest about how long it might take so that you can set your expectations. Because when I was originally having this, I thought, I'm out for 6 months to a year, but it's more like 3 or 4. As of today, I think what's the date? It is the 17th of February. My first major operation was 2 years and 2 years ago today, I think, or just over 2 years ago.
Okay. And
I'm still at least probably a minute off what I used to run for 10K after 2 years of very intense recovery.
Yeah, far out.
That's still crazy how far you've come as well, which obviously we'll talk about.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's just nuts. So obviously there was unknowns as to how you would respond to the surgery. So how did that play out? When you started to obviously try and learn to walk again, but also running, did you have to obviously check in how you were progressing, and what was that process like?
So in terms of we knew that the surgery was fairly likely to actually work in terms of removing the block so that I could have blood flow again. What we didn't know is what would happen to my running. So I was it's very unusual to have a resurgence of the condition itself. So we weren't so worried about that. It was more just what would happen in terms of my performance and whether I'd be able to run the same as before.
Okay.
In terms of checking in, though, we did have to have quite a lot of doctor's appointments and scans to actually check that it hadn't come back and check that it had worked. So there was quite a few ultrasounds and doctor's appointments and checks, if you like. But mentally it did kind of spin me around a bit for that. And to be honest, it still does. Just because there's always that thought in the back of my mind of, can you really run that fast now, missing part of your legs? It's a real mental test more than physical now. Because to be honest, I know I'm doing the right things recovery-wise, and I know I've got really good people around me supporting me. I know that I can't control too much of my body in terms of how much potential it's got left in it, whether that talent I used to have is still there, but it's a mental test of, can I be confident in myself again or not after going through that?
Yeah.
It's definitely helped my pain tolerance. You're definitely not scared by a hard session after going through that surgery and learning to walk and run again, but it tests your self-belief more than anything.
Yeah.
Still does. 100%.
Which makes total sense.
Yeah.
I think you'd done it before, like you said, that you've been injured so many times in the past, and it's kind of all just been building up to this. You're just coming back again, stronger. And
it's crazy.
I guess it's a bit different this time.
Yeah, I think the difference is that most of the other injuries I've had, everyone else has had too. So I know that everyone comes back from them. They're short term. I think when you're out for a number of years rather than months, it mentally does something different to you, because you almost, you turn up again, you almost feel like a stranger in your own sport, even though everyone, when I did come back, was very welcoming and very kind. I kind of felt like, am I meant to be here? It felt a bit alien, but also familiar at the same time. It just to build on the confidence point, it's even though you've done it before, and you know I know I've run fast before. It's very different when you know, hey, I'm actually missing part of my legs now, and I've been out for so long. It's that like kind of self-doubt of I wonder if my body actually has what it takes anymore.
Yeah,
I really hope it does, and I'm doing my best to actually believe in myself that it does. But it's a real mental test more than anything now.
Yeah.
So once you started, what was the process like getting back to running? Like what did you have to do?
So in terms of getting back to running, I had to pass a few tests first in terms of being able to do single and double leg hops. I had to actually be able to bend my knee, which took a while, and I had to be able to walk and cycle. And I also had to wait for that scar tissue to heal because the back of my legs had a very long scar and thick scar on it, so I had to wait for that to fully close up as well.
Oh, yeah.
Once I was actually back into running, my first run was 20 metres. That's it.
Yeah.
I think it was 2 by 20 metres. After maybe 2 months, I got up to 3 kilometres. And that was probably the hardest 3 kilometres I've ever run.
What did it feel like when you ran the 20 metres? Do you remember?
I do, actually. It felt very alien. I didn't feel like I was a runner anymore. It felt really strange and awkward to run. And I felt like one of the... You know those when the horses first come out of the womb and they're all off balance? I felt like that. I was also about 10 kilos heavier than I am now.
Yeah.
Because I was so bedridden that I put on a bit of weight, and I also put on a bit of upper body muscle because before the condition got really bad, I just did heaps of gym because that's all I could do. So I built up a bit of upper body.
Actually, yeah, that's what I was going to ask as well. Is maybe, sorry if I'm sidetracking, but yeah, so you did gym.
Yeah.
What were you doing like to try and stay like mentally, like not with it, but you know, keep yourself mentally occupied and stuff like that?
In the kind of mild part of the injury before it got worse, I was trying to run. Once I stopped running, I was cycling and swimming and doing gym. And then in the worst part of it, I couldn't really do anything, and I was just... That's when I'll mention this later, but that's when I started my clothing brand. So I worked out, hey, I'm going to lose my mind if I don't do anything here. Because if I just sit around and watch Netflix, that's just not who I am.
Yeah.
I don't mind watching a movie or, you know, socialising and stuff. It's great fun, but if I can't go to uni, I can't go to work, I can't train at all, and I'm stuck in bed and I have no purpose, this is going to drive me nuts. So I did what every reasonable person would do, and I started a clothing brand.
What was the date? Do you remember when you started?
I don't remember the exact date because I was on a lot of hospital drugs.
Yeah.
So I was actually, I think my first design, I was probably on a heap of morphine.
Yeah, okay.
So it didn't turn out too well. But
this is not that design.
No, it's not that one.
Yeah.
If I can design that while on anaesthetic, I think the brand should do quite well. No, it was end of... I think I first started working on it end of 2022.
Yeah.
Was when I first sat down and said, hey, I'm going to learn to design.
Yeah. Last time you were on, you were like... You mentioned it, like that you were like interested in clothing and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah.
A few months after that, I started learning Photoshop and Illustrator.
Oh, right.
And I think the first thing I made was... maybe early last year. I made some soccer jerseys. And then the hoodies came shortly after that I dropped, and some of the running community got behind that, which was lovely. Part of the thinking as well was I thought, hey, we're in Sydney. Everyone's wearing international brands that don't know who they are and they've been around for ages. Why doesn't Sydney have its own running brand? Like, we're a pretty big city and there's a lot of runners around now. So I thought it'd be cool to have wear my own running brand rather than, while I'm not sponsored, I may as well have my own.
Yeah. Well, Dom's wearing your...
Yes.
Absolutely.
Dom's wearing your
There's
shirt.
two of us now.
Quality. Yeah.
Sorry, it was a bit big for me, but I've got one of the hoodies.
Yes,
they're
just very
hot.
thick.
And tell us about the name.
Envialo means sended in Spanish. I thought it was quite appropriate because it's a bit of a juxtaposition, because Envialo, when you say it, sounds very fancy, very upper class. Then you go, what does that mean? You go, send it, and it goes right back to like Red Bull racing on the mountain bikes and, trying to drop the boys at 7K into a long run. So it's a real kind of dual meaning.
Yeah.
It's if someone that doesn't ask, it sounds fancy. Someone that does, they're like, oh, yep, you're definitely an endurance athlete in your early 20s with a mullet.
I'm going to get the jumper. Show it off.
Yes, and this is the singlet, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I give a 2-second introduction to the singlet?
Yeah.
So, I've always been into fashion, but I thought, hey, there's a lot of boring running gear out there. Why not bring a bit of kind of retro 80s vibe into running gear? And also give some quality for a decent price, because while there's some great quality out there, I don't think you should have to pay $300 for a running singlet. I think that's a bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
Especially for normal people. I get it if you're rich, but most guys in their early to mid 20s and girls don't have a lot of money, especially with considering the rent in Sydney costs an arm and a leg and a kidney.
Yeah.
So this is my debut running singlet. I've spent about 4 to 5 months product testing this now. It's 42 grams. It's apparently, according to my research, the equal lightest on the market. It's very breathable, you can see by the holes, and it's custom designed with a bit of 80s vibe. We've got a navy and a light blue. There will be a white and maybe a brown coming out later as well.
Do you want to hold up the navy?
The other thing I will mention is that this is the navy. The brand's currently on hold while I'm finishing uni, because I'm a big believer in doing everything properly, and I want to make sure that when I do sell things that they're good.
Yeah.
So this is the navy.
It's nice.
Very nice and light, good material.
What's the material again?
So it's a mix of polyester and spandex.
Yeah.
I can't remember the exact numerical ratio, but I did actually request it specifically because I spent a long time researching it. I'm very detail oriented and a bit of a perfectionist.
Yeah.
So I'm the kind of person that would spend ages reviewing a design and ages reviewing the fabric and the cut of the singlet. So I've spent a long time actually just testing this myself.
Yeah.
And I'm now ready to sell it. I just need to spend some time on the marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
They feel great. They look great.
Are they publicly available yet? Or?
Not yet. Next few months they will be.
Yeah, right.
Once I'm finished, I'm literally...
T-shirts and hoodies?
Yeah, they were publicly available last year. I've taken them off the website only because you guys are wearing the last few.
Yeah, right.
They actually sold a bit better than I thought, so I ordered some stock and thought, I'm probably going to be stuck with half this left over. And I was stuck. I only had about 3 or 4 things left over.
Yeah, wow.
Which is a good result.
Yeah.
I thought it was not going to go that way, but it did fairly well.
They're really, really nice. And
Thank you.
Similar to top quality, I'm keen to get one.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The hoodies did well too, actually.
Yeah.
People thought they were really warm. I'm still seeing them around Sydney.
Yeah.
One of my mates actually texted me, I think it was earlier this year, saying, I was just seeing some random person wearing your hoodie. I go, oh wow, that's cool. That made my day.
Yeah.
100%. I see them a bit around ES Marks and around the running community. I think I've seen, my friends have seen them in Melbourne actually, which is pretty cool, and Adelaide.
I'm sure once you list them, you'll see them around more.
Yeah.
Definitely.
They will be back with some new designs.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully get involved. One of the dreams is to actually grow the brand to the point where I can sponsor a younger version of myself, like a younger athlete. That would be really cool one day.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
In the future though.
Yeah.
Got to build up first.
Yeah.
Small steps.
But it's pretty cool that was born out of almost at your you didn't have anything else to do and you're like, what can I do to... So that's pretty cool. I didn't even think about the place you're at when you decided to do that. So.
Yeah, it's kind of, if you like, my lowest or most desperate moment. I was kind of searching the question I kind of asked myself was what else is there that I actually want to do? Because if I either can't do running now or can't do it anymore, what else kind of gets me interested? So I've got to have a purpose, and I think it's good to have things outside of running that you love, even though I'm a big believer in commit to a dream and go for it. I love running. Running is what I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to be an elite athlete, but outside of running, I think it's good to have something else. Yeah. And that I didn't really even consider anything else about what I wanted until this happened. So there's always an upside to the downside.
Absolutely. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, true. I guess it would really shift your train of thought completely. Running's not an option. You have to cross it off almost, which would be so hard to let go of. Oh yeah. I think it still has been at times when I try, I see some of my mates racing in the bigger races that I thought, geez, I would have been right up the front in this 2-3 years ago. Yeah. So it's a bit like it feels like a backwards progression even though I'm actually moving forwards. Yeah. It's definitely, I think when you're coming back from injury, it's hard not to get a bit of FOMO. Absolutely. And even the guys that are fit that actually can compete when they don't turn up to a race, they sometimes go, I wonder what would have happened if I'd been in that. I wish I was there.
Yeah.
So it kind of teaches you how much you really love it. Because when everything's going well, it's very easy to say, I don't feel like running today, or I'm not enjoying this because I'm not running well right now. But when you can't run for literally a year, it makes you appreciate how much you miss the sport.
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely. Damn, when did I cut you off? I think we were talking about, like, when did I change direction? I think we were talking about how you were coming back to... what the process was like with coming back to running. So how long did it take to build back? So you did your 3K, like you were saying, you built back to running 3K.
Yeah.
Then what did you do after that? Like, what did you have to do after that?
So it took me, in terms of getting up to what would be considered a reasonable training week, probably a year.
Yep.
And to get to, I'd say it took me a year to get to like 60 to 80K a week of running. So it was a really, really slow and long build. I spent a lot of time outside of running doing rehab and a lot of time cycling.
What were you doing in the rehab?
A lot of kind of below the knee work, so balance, footwork, calf raises, increasing my dorsiflexion because I had a really stiff ankle because of the scar tissue was so tightly bound that I couldn't move my ankle much at the start.
Yeah, okay.
So a lot of it was either biomechanics or just strength and conditioning, if you like, really simple stuff.
Yep. How long were those sessions normally? Or do they vary? I'm just curious.
Oh, half an hour to... Sometimes just half an hour, like after dinner.
Yep.
Some of them were an hour to 2 hours, depending on whether I was with my physio or not. And then I'd do strength and conditioning in the gym as well. Just basic movements like squats and single leg calf raises at the start. They've progressed since, but I'd say the first time I felt like I ran genuinely fast or something under a 3:30 was probably a year to a year and a half after the surgery. It would have been, I think my first race where I cracked a top 10 in a major road race would have been about 19 months after surgery.
Wow.
So and that was still nowhere near my old level. I was still a minute and a half, 2 minutes off my old level back then. And that was over a year and a half after.
What race was that?
That was Sydney Harbour 10.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's
yeah.
Usually a pretty deep race. As well,
It is, yes.
Yeah.
It was that year too. There was a few interstate guys there like Sam Clifford and co.
So what was it like when you started being able to, like, I'm assuming there was just a lot of jogging in the early stages, cycling, and then how long before you started to do a session?
I think my first session would have been... Look, I did try and push the envelope in terms of some faster runs. Like I'd try and... I still remember, I think it took me probably 6 months just to run a 4-minute K, which compared to my old self was a bit pathetic, but, you know, it was an achievement at the time. I think sessions probably came 6 to 8 months after surgery, and the big sessions were over a year away from surgery. And now I'm up to 120, 125K a week, and I used to do 150, so I'm still building. I probably need another 6 to 8 months before I'm back to my full training like I used to.
Yeah.
So it's, realistically, it's a 3 to 4 year injury.
And what was it like when you could start running fast again?
Look, there's two parts of it. One part was a bit of a light bulb moment of, wow, I can actually do this again. And it was a bit of dopamine. Some of it was also, gee, this feels really awkward. So it took a lot of concerted effort and balance to actually run fast because my body wasn't used to it and it didn't feel safe doing it in terms of the neurological side.
So similar to when you went back to walking.
Yeah.
You're going back to running fast, which your body's still not used to.
And it didn't know how to run fast, let alone run fast efficiently. I used to, when I first started doing sessions with Ed and Josh and the guys at Gore Hill, I'd top out at like 250 pace, 3-minute Ks, and my body would just go, I can't physically run any faster. I don't know what to do. And my technique would get all wobbly and off balance. I've gradually built up to the point where I can now run some quicker reps. I'm now at the point where I can fairly smoothly run, 64s for 400 reps and stuff like that. And I think my quickest 400 I've run post-surgery would be maybe a 58 or 59.
Yeah, right.
But that's taken a lot of concerted effort. It hasn't come naturally. And it's a lot of practice, and I've almost had to be prepared to fail to the point where I might look a bit silly or I might blow up in a session, and I've just had to be a bit of, inch forward each week or each month.
Yeah.
It's nice to start to feel like a runner again, though. Because for quite a while I did not feel like a runner, just in terms of my technique and how awkward it felt to run. Now I can start to actually have some sessions where I go, I feel pretty good now.
Yeah.
Which is a nice reward for the hard work.
Were there any drills or anything you did, or it's more just...
Heaps.
Yeah.
A lot of the Kenyan plyometric drills actually I was doing. Learning them off my coach and off the Kenyans. I do a lot of kind of hops, a lot of kind of mobility and flexibility, like double and single leg plyometrics.
Okay.
There's a lot that went into it, a lot of physio too. Should definitely shout out my strength coach and physio as well as my coach Mark Newton. They've done a lot for me.
Yeah.
I've spent a heap of time actually doing research and trying to help me fix this. So have my parents. Like, I've had a lot of help. I can't claim that I've done this on my own. I would be very lost without some of the experts, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And your coach, like, how long have you guys had that kind of relationship for?
So I've known him since I was young. He wasn't coaching me. He first started coaching me in, it would have been end of 2023. I first started with him because I knew I needed to find someone that was an absolute expert in exercise physiology and anatomy and biomechanics that could actually devote a lot of time to teaching me to run again. Because I pretty quickly, when I started learning to run again myself, knew that it was a massive task.
Yeah.
And it was going to take a lot of time. So I started with him then, and he helps me a couple of times a week. I was with him just doing drills and technique and learning to run probably like 3 to 5 hours a week, just learning to run, not running, for about 6 months before I could kind of spread my wings and take off.
Yeah.
Mark's fantastic. He's absolute expert. He's coached some world champion triathletes and helped some elite cyclists and runners with both physiological testing and biomechanics. So he really knows his stuff. He's great.
Yeah, I think like the biomechanics kind of side for long distance running is a little bit overlooked as well. Like
it is.
In sprinting, it's everything. Whereas like in distance running, it's like, it doesn't matter what your form's like as long as you can get the job done. But I think that, there's probably a lot to learn there.
Biomechanics is massively overlooked. Let alone doing a proper warm-up. That's another can of worms. But
Yeah.
Most people don't warm up properly. Definitely. Because all they do is they jog and they don't get their heart rate up, and then they try and race and their heart rate has only touched 145, where they're trying to sit on 180 for 30 minutes. So what happens is their body can't match the demands of the race, and then they overcook themselves and the nervous system goes into shock. And they're using all this extra energy and fuel for no reason.
What's a proper warm-up look like?
For me, and I'll back this up by saying that a lot of the elites do a similar thing overseas, the jog only needs to be 10 or 15 minutes. Do your drills. Then often they'll do like a 3-minute threshold and some longer strides where they end up at race pace, like 1 minute strides.
Yeah, right, okay.
So they actually spend a lot more time running fast than you'd think. Just to actually, because you want to make sure you get your heart rate up into that higher zone so your body's prepared to do it efficiently.
Yeah, okay.
Can you imagine how you'd feel if you went for a jog and then immediately started running race pace? You'd feel pretty crap.
Yeah.
It's kind of what I do.
I do too sometimes.
Yeah.
I've definitely had races where like I get to, I don't know, a kilometre in or 2Ks in, I'm like, shit, like I feel really bad. Like, I definitely feel that for sure. Yeah.
There's been some days where I've felt really bad for the first half of the session or the run, and then bing, and I feel good again.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think some of that's poor warm up.
Did you say you do that for a session as like similar thing for a session?
Yeah, for a hard session, like a VO2 session, definitely. For a tempo or threshold, sometimes I'll more just roll into it.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, if I'm expecting to hit at really quick times on the track, or a really hard like 3x3k or 8x k, whatever it is, we'll often do a few 200s before or even run a k rep.
Yeah, okay.
In like 3 minutes to 3:10 just to get going. Otherwise, I feel like you just go into shock. You you do a jog and a few strides, and you go through the first 15 seconds, it's fine, and you hit 30 seconds into rep and your body goes, what is this? I've never seen this person before.
Yeah, I feel that sometimes particularly on the Friday sessions, if I just do a jog and then like it takes 1 rep to really get up to threshold even.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, it's quite common.
Yeah. So one thing I was wondering as well is coming how's your training changed? Like, how's it changed now to like before injury? Have you taken different things or changed bits and pieces? Obviously with a different coach, I assume.
Yeah,
so.
Definitely. So I'm a lot more scientific now, both because I know I have to be, because I used to be quite bulletproof when I was younger and just could train hard all the time, where now I have to be careful and understand that my body is still a bit limited. So I'm very big on using heart rate and blood lactate for intensity regulation. My mileage isn't as high as it used to be because of my body at the moment. My Achilles tendons and my legs just aren't as strong. Mm-hmm. So I'm adding some bike riding to add extra mileage without the high impact, if you like.
Yeah, it's because you do like what 2 hours or something a week, is it? Of cycling?
Yeah, anything between 2 and 3 hours, depending on the week.
Okay. And some of the, I think I saw on your Strava, I can't remember the exact comment. It was something, the type of mitochondrial or something.
Oh, mitochondrial biogenesis.
Yeah, what's that?
So when you're doing any kind of training, but particularly threshold training, you're training your mitochondria to either get bigger or to get more mitochondria, and the mitochondrial biogenesis is the process of that happening.
Okay.
So your body, the physiological adaptation you're after is to be able to use fuel more efficiently when you run.
Yeah.
And also use oxygen more efficiently as well. A bit of both. That's a bit of a very dodgy way of explaining it.
Yeah.
But essentially, the mitochondrial biogenesis is your body, the process of using exercise to stimulate your body or tell your body to make more mitochondria and make bigger mitochondria.
And is that kind of the process for easy running? Like,
that does help,
yeah,
but
okay.
It happens more when you do harder training, like the higher intensity stuff.
Right, okay.
Everything you do is going to build your aerobic engine and build your ability to run faster. It's just pieces of a puzzle. And I think the way I look at training now is more purposeful rather than just kind of following what everyone else is doing and doing the sessions I'm given. Everything I do needs to have a purpose because I know I need to be more time efficient. I know that now that I'm older, if I do want to have another shot at a running career, I've only got so much time. Like I haven't got another 20 years. I've got another 5 to 10 if I'm lucky.
Yeah.
And I obviously need to jump in and make money as well. So I'm really trying to be really efficient with what I do.
Okay, so you got intensity regulation with. So do you take blood? Oh, you do. Okay.
Not all the time, but I do it periodically just to check where I'm at.
Where you're at.
And my coach does all my testing for my zones, and I run to heart rate all the time.
Okay. Similar to Josh.
Yeah. So Josh and I do some very similar training. We do have slightly different training philosophies. I think I probably enjoy or tend to have periods where I push a little bit more in terms of high intensity. Mm. But we do have very similar philosophies in terms of using science to dictate our training, which I think is really useful. You do want to have some sessions where you just go for it, and Josh does and I do. We both have these sessions where we just have to run these times.
Yeah.
But I think using science to guide your training increases your longevity in the sport and decreases your risk of being injured. And you get the most bang for your buck. If you're going to do a threshold session, you want to know that you're actually doing a threshold session and not a tempo or a VO2 workout. Because it's a real blurred line. People that say, isn't threshold really easy? No, it's not. It's actually a pretty tough session if done right. It's just that it's repeatable and it's measurable and it's sustainable. That's the difference. It's still hard work and it gets you really good adaptations because it gets your body really good at actually being in control of its own intensity rather than just going for it and looking at the result later.
Yeah. What's some of your favorite what would you typically do? You said 3K reps?
Yeah, I'll run 3K reps. When I was building up in my base phase, I'd do something like 6 by 5 minutes in the morning and 8 by 3 at night. So I do a double threshold day. I do like my kind of longer continuous thresholds now that I'm a bit fitter. Something like just a 30-minute at LT2 and try and push 310s.
Yep.
I won't try and squeeze that if it's out of the heart rate zone, but I think there's a lot of value in continuous thresholds because your body needs to be used to having a continuously high heart rate like it would in a race.
Yeah.
Because if you're only doing shorter reps or broken sessions all the time, your body's not going to be ready to do a continuous effort. It's something you need to practice.
Yeah, okay. So you do a mix of, the shorter reps and... Because I
Longer.
think I saw you and you were out with Sam.
And James Nipperas,
and James, around the bay.
We were jumping in with James's marathon session. So we're doing... He was doing 3 by 5K. I did 2. And Sam did 3 just because he's ridiculously fit at the moment. But yeah, that was a 2 by 5K off 1K float.
Yeah.
We were just sitting on about 310s, 311s.
It was hot part of the day. It was starting to heat up.
Yeah, it was already like 28 degrees at 8 a.m. We thought we'd gone, not early, but not late.
Yeah.
Might have escaped the heat. No.
You mentioned like you're a coach now as well.
Yes, I am.
Have you learnt much through being a coach?
Definitely. Both about myself and about athletes. Same as running the clothing brand. I think coaching other people and selling something and trying to provide really good value teaches you a lot about yourself and about the sport. Because for those that don't know, I've gone to uni and I'm in my last semester of exercise science. So I'm very interested in the sciencey side of the sport. So I've just started to take on athletes now. So if you're looking for a coach, come talk to me. I'll definitely help you out.
So you're taking on...
Yeah, I'm currently taking on athletes at the moment. I've just started with a few. I've been coaching for a couple of years though. So I started coaching at schools, and I do some programs for some of the athletes at the schools, and I'd also coach in person 2-3 times a week as my kind of side job to my main job. Now I'm actually taking online clients as well, both for strength and conditioning and for running. So I'm looking forward to working with a few more people and trying to help them through the sciencey side of the sport. Because I think a lot of people would benefit from understanding their own body and their own training a bit more. One of my selling point is that I've been both the athlete and the coach. Most people have been one or the other, and they're either an athlete that just wants to coach, or they're a coach that doesn't understand athletes because they've never been one. When you've been on both sides at the high level, you really get a good understanding of what needs to be done. And my biggest kind of selling point is that I know why I'm giving you something. So when I give someone a session, it's not just, I saw that on Flow Track and I'll chuck it in, or, I did that last week. Let's give them that too and see if this new runner can survive my 8 by a K at 2:55. Let's see what happens. I like to always sit down when I write a program and go, why is that there? And if they asked me why, could I give them a really good answer? And if not, I'm not going to put it in. And I think more coaches, there are some other coaches that do and do a really good job, but there's certainly some that don't. And I can just see because everyone's sessions are the same.
Yeah.
Not to throw too much shade there, but there's definitely people out there it's not really people in the running community. It's more influencers and people that have just started running and posting a million Instagram reels.
Yeah.
And then within a couple of months, they're like, I'm a coach now. It's like, hang on, you didn't run 3 months ago. You've done a finance degree at uni. You've been running for 3 months, and you've given 3 people a stress fracture. You sure?
It's probably not well qualified.
No, I think the people that coach have a responsibility to give their athletes value for money and keep their athletes safe.
It's a big responsibility.
It is. You've got someone's health in your hands. So I was talking to my friend who's also a coach, who's a qualified coach, about this, and we were both saying you've actually got someone's health and their body and their life in your hands when you're coaching them, because when you're giving someone their workouts or their meal plan or their strength and conditioning, if you get something wrong, you could really hurt them and both cost them a lot of time and money out of the sport and affect what they do for work. Because if you give someone a stress fracture, they might not be able to work either. So you could, if you overtrain them, you could put them in hospital. You could give them all sorts of problems. So you've really got to think that it's not just a program, it's a person. You've got their health in your hands.
100%.
I think I've got since going to uni, I've got a much more well-rounded approach to running, both for what I give to other people and what I give to myself.
Plus, obviously, you know how delicate it is given your injuries as well.
I mean, you get something 1% wrong, that can be pretty catastrophic. And I like training hard, don't get me wrong, but you've got to know where the line is. And I think getting to know the people you coach and where their line is really important. Because you can have 2 people that run the same speed, but their tolerance to hard work or to sessions or mileage is completely different. So it's a real mistake just to give them the same thing.
Yeah.
Especially when what my coach does really well is he looks for where my insufficiencies or my deficits are and helps me work on them rather than just going, here's your sessions. He'll look at my run technique and work out, hey, your ability to use your stored kinetic energy in the Achilles is lacking, or maybe your knee drive needs to be worked on, or your threshold's great but your respiratory capacity is lacking, and we'll actually tick and work on the deficits and tick them off. Which is, I think that's, if done right, is a really good way to coach, because you're actually, rather than just throwing more running at people, you're actually finding easier ways for them to get faster.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, covered a lot off.
We have.
But what are you planning now? Like, what's next for you? Obviously, you're still trying to build back up.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's your plans?
So in terms of running, I'm going to race Bluff to Boat Ramp next month. I'm looking to try and get back up the top in terms of winter road race season. I'd like to try and get back to that kind of elite level I was racing at before and just see how far I can go with it. I'll be finished uni soon, so once I'm finished uni, I'm aiming to bring the clothing brand back. Well, I will bring the clothing brand back, and I'll also take on some more athletes as well again. So I've got about 10 to 15 remaining spots aside from the athletes I already have at the moment, and then once I'm finished, I'll take on a few more. But that's the kind of the main plan, is just to finish uni, and by the time I finish uni, hopefully be running a bit faster again and just see how far I can go in the sport.
Yeah.
And enjoy being a part of it and really learn to love the sport again, because for a while I don't think I enjoyed it, especially coming back into racing when I was getting absolutely flogged, to be honest, and not running as fast. I kind of lost my love for it, so I really want to try and find that love for racing again and find my old self that got really excited for a race and loved both the winning and just the competition of it.
Yeah.
And the adrenaline rush.
Was the racing different as well, like running that hard different? Because obviously you built back in sessions, but a race is different.
Definitely.
In a way. How did you find that?
I think it was a bit of a shock to the system, and I had quite a few blow-ups and tough races, but my body just wasn't and is probably still isn't used to that level of intensity again in a race. It's something that I'm having to get used to again. It feels a bit foreign, and just having this, it's a real skill to be able to get every last bit out of yourself in terms of the pushing yourself in a race.
Yeah.
It's something that's developed through years, and when you have years out, it takes a while to get it back. I think I'm getting there though. I'm starting to have some sessions where I can sit on the back of Sam and Josh and really just stick at it.
Yeah.
But it's taken 2 years. I think I'm 2 years in, and the last probably month is the first time I felt like I'm genuinely running decently well again.
Yeah, which is very exciting.
It is. It's nice because I've had some sessions where I can actually pump my fist in the air and go, oh wow, that was cool. I actually ran with the boys again.
Yeah.
That must be huge.
Yeah.
You leading any
I have
reps?
I'm leading some reps now, which is cool as well. There's Josh and I did, I think it was 20 by 400 at Rotary, which is a pretty soft grass track in the heat, and we were running nothing fast, maybe 70s off 30 seconds rest. And I was leading. I led 10 of them. Josh led 10 of them. I was like, wow.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
you got to be fit.
I was even helping Sam with some K reps last week, which is 2 weeks ago. And that was pretty cool as well, because I was actually able to feel like I was, one of the boys up the top again.
Yeah, well, I think it's not long till you are. Well, you already
You are, yeah.
Yeah, and for a while I felt like I didn't belong there. I'm kind of like I'm a bit of a passenger here, and my first workout I did with Ed, I got dropped on the first rep.
Yeah.
And now I'm able to do the whole workout with these guys, so it's kind of nice just to feel part of it again.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. Dom, do you have any questions? Anything you want to cover off?
Nah, not much. I think that's it.
Should we wrap it
Yeah,
up?
covered a lot of ground there.
Yeah.
did.
Anything you want to raise or?
No, I just wanted to say thank you for having me. I know it's been a very long conversation, and thank you for everyone for listening. I know
It's been awesome.
There's a lot being talked about, a lot of injury discussions, a lot of science discussions. If you ever have questions on sports science or want to chat about something, DMs are open.
Yeah.
If you're single, DMs are open. As long as you're a runner.
salesman.
Might have to cut that. Maybe we'll leave it in.
Okay.
It'd be a pretty
Your
funny.
call.
We can leave it in. It would be pretty. Now this has to go in. It'd be pretty funny if I ended up marrying someone because of a podcast.
I love
That'd
that.
be awesome.
Clip this and play it at my wedding. Hopefully she's a fast runner and gives me kudos on Strava.
Well, yeah, thanks for coming on again and sharing.
Thank you.
That experience is crazy.
Yes.
But it's awesome to see you back running fast and strong. Keen to see when your brand launches. It looks awesome. And yeah, thanks again.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
thanks for having me, guys. Much appreciated. I enjoyed being on, and thanks for listening and following the journey too.
Yeah, absolutely.